Hello, welcome back to my channel. So today I want to do a tag that I've seen going around BookTube for a while now, and that is the My Perfect Book tag. This is an original inspired tag made by MJ over at Reading This Life. She saw a video that Ollie made at his channel Criminolly where he was talking all about his what makes his perfect book, and not so much about the content, but about the book itself, the binding of the book, hardback, paperback, ebook, that sort of thing. And she turned it into an original tag with questions all about what makes our perfect book, the actual object of the book. And I thought that was an absolutely fantastic idea, and I've really enjoyed watching all of the videos that have been made for it, and so I thought I would join in with it. And so I will link to MJ's original video down below, as well as Ollie's video that this tag is inspired from. And so this has 8 prompts, so it's not too long. So I'll just jump right in and get started. I have the questions here on my iPad that I'm reading off of, if you see the glare in my glasses from that. So prompt number 1 is, what format is your perfect book? Hardback, paperback, or e-format? And so for me, I really have a couple of answers. I don't have just one straight answer, because really my perfect book depends on the book itself, on what I am reading. So when I'm reading classics, I love the Penguin Classics editions of whatever work that I am reading. I love these because of their uniformity and design. I always think that they do a really sleek and classic look on their cover designs. It always is pulled together so nicely. I also really love their introductions that they have, as well as their formatting and layout. I think it looks really clean and crisp. It's always very professionally laid out, and I appreciate that. And I also really enjoy their uniformity when they're up on a shelf. So I have a Penguin Classic shelf, and I absolutely love it because it looks so clean. It looks very uniform. So if we're talking my perfect book for a classic, it would have to be a Penguin Classics edition like this one here. For nonfiction, specifically for historical nonfiction, for biography, I want something more substantial. So this is David McCullough's biography of John Adams, and it's in this really nice hardcover edition here. I have the Mylar protector on the dust jacket. I don't know if you can see, but it has deckled edges, which always elevates a book. But for something like a biography that I know I'm going to be referring to over and over again, pulling off my shelf, I want to go ahead and have it in a really nice hardback edition like this that I know will be substantial, and it will hold up for a long time on my shelves. I don't have to worry about if it's a paperback getting ripped or anything like that. I know that it will hold up, and it looks really nice. And it's a book that I know I'll be going back to, and so I like having it in a little bit more of a substantial edition, like a nice hardback like this. However, there is sort of a caveat to both of these, and that is, most of the time when I'm reading on this. I'm reading on my Kindle Paperwhite. And that is just because, and this is Jane Ridley's newest book, by the way. It's her biography of King George V here. I find myself reaching for my Kindle Paperwhite anytime I'm about to start reading a new book. Even if I have the book in physical form, I will most likely also have an ebook form of that book, and I will read it on my Kindle. And the reason that's the case is just because of the ultimate control and reading freedom that the Kindle gives me. Being able to change the font size, change the typeface, change the margins and the line spacing and the backlight and the glow light. It's completely customizable, and so it really bridges the gap and between sort of all of these different forms that I like. A lot of the questions, even on this tag, are really rendered invalid with a Paperwhite, because if you don't like the margins, typically you're able to change them, not always. And so this is also my this is also my perfect book for really anything, specifically traveling, just because of the convenience of it. Um, and so those are my complicated answers to prompt number one. Prompt number two is about how many pages is your perfect book. And so if we're talking fiction, I love a novel that's around 300, 350 pages, somewhere in there, where it's just long enough that you can really sink your teeth into it, but not so long where you can't finish it in a day of reading, in a Saturday maybe of reading, where you can sit down and get through a whole book. It gives such a great sense of accomplishment, and it's just a fantastic feeling to be able to read a whole book. So specifically with the novel, something shorter like that. If we're talking a biography or a work of historical nonfiction, I love something that's 500, 600, 700, even 800 pages long, where you can really be able to get lost in the narrative, and it's just chock full of details. When an 800-page biography is done well, it reads incredibly quickly. You won't even notice the page count. It just sails by because you're just pulled into the subject's life. So prompt number three is, are you particular as to where the chapters begin? I always love my chapters to start on a fresh page, the top of the right-hand side page. I hate when chapters start in the middle of a page. It doesn't make any layout sense to me whatsoever. I just think it's always kind of clunky when that happens, because there's sort of a natural pause that happens when you get to the end of a chapter, let's say on the left-hand page, where maybe the text comes down halfway down the page, and then you have some white space. And that white space is a very short moment where your brain can sort of reset, absorb that information from the chapter, and then you start into the next chapter on the right-hand page. Whereas if the chapter starts halfway down a page, it just seems like a very clunky transition to me. And that might be just a really weird reading quirk I have, but I always love a chapter to start on a fresh page, the right side page. The next prompt is number 4. Are you particular as to where the page numbers are located? I most prefer for the page numbers to be at the center of the bottom of the page, but I also don't mind when they are up on the top right. But I prefer for them to be at the bottom. The next question is, do you have a favorite font? Do you check to see the font details if available? And I do not have a favorite font. I really am always fine with whatever font a book is using. If there's, for some reason, some very strange font that is being used, trying to mimic written script or something like that, it might get on my nerves a little bit. But for the most part, I don't really pay too much attention to the font. I know when I'm reading on my Kindle, I tend to use Amazon Bookerly, I believe it's called. It's sort of Amazon's standard font that they have designed, which I think is really nice. It's really smooth, very easy on the eyes, and really I set that as my typeface when I got my Kindle, and I never changed it. I haven't changed it since getting this device. Let's see. The next question is prompt number 6. Do margins matter to you? And they do. I don't like super tight margins. I like to have a little bit of breathing space in the margins, and not even just for writing, because a lot of the times, again, I'm reading on my Kindle, so writing in the margins is just more taking a note, and then it's hidden away. But there is just something about sort of having a little bit more space on the page to breathe, that at least for me is much more comfortable on my eyes than a really tight laced margin. The next question is prompt number 7. Does your perfect book have any other unique features that makes it perfect? If yes, please share. So I kind of shared a little bit on the physical book here, but one of my favorite things of all time on a physical book is deckled edges. And it doesn't, I think it's showing up there. Yeah. It doesn't really add too much to the reading experience at all. Obviously, you're still just flipping pages, but there's something about the feel of it and just the look of it that just makes me happy. And I think it really elevates sort of the aesthetic appearance of a book. And then also, if we're talking about Kindles, and I know this is something that Steve mentioned in his video for this tag, but that is that the Kindle now lets you have the cover of the book you are currently reading as the screensaver on your device. And it just really elevates the experience. It's something that I think it's a very small thing, but it's really nice, and it elevates the experience greatly. Let's see, the next prompt is prompt number 8, show us the cover. What do you find perfect about it? So, the one I will show is, again, just a biography. Something really simple. You don't have to be fancy. All you need, a portrait of your subject and your name on there. That's all I'm looking for. I'm not picky with covers at all. It's not really something that I even pay a whole lot of attention to, honestly. And I think that goes back again to me doing a lot of e-reading. So on my Kindle, the only times I'm ever seeing the cover is the moment that I turn my device on and I see the cover. But typically, even then, like, I have this one pulled to the cover, but typically it's not even on the cover, so it just opens, you know, wherever I am in the book, and I keep on reading. And so I don't usually see the cover, and so it's not a deal breaker for me. In fact, I have a lot of favorite books that I don't like their covers, but it's because it just doesn't ever really occur to me. So that's the end of the my perfect book tag. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And if you have any comments you'd like to leave, please feel free to leave those down below. And I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.